Coverage varies by plan. View contracts and exclusions at endurancewarranty.com.
If you're driving a car or truck with an expired warranty and suddenly lost your transmission or needed a full engine repair, would a $4,000 repair bill leave you stranded? I'm Danica Patrick. Don't get caught off guard with a vehicle breakdown. Choose the company I trust. Endurance. No matter the mileage, if your vehicle is less than 20 years old, Endurance offers comprehensive auto protection plans for any budget. Protection on the drivetrain, electrical, transmission, AC, and more. Plus, benefits like 24/7 roadside assistance and rental car reimbursement on any plan. Endurance handles everything, from making the claim through the repair process to paying the certified mechanic of your choice. Don't get caught off guard with a vehicle breakdown. Act now and get 1 full year of elite benefits. A $2,000 value, free.
Visit EnduranceWarranty.com for your fast free quote today. That's EnduranceWarranty.com.
Coming up on this episode of DL Weekly, summer is just beginning, but Halloween is coming. What is staying from the 70th during Halloween? A huge book event this weekend.
Construction updates around the parks, new infrastructure at the entrance, a new Magic Band spot, an adorable dinosaur comes to Pixar Pier. We talk about our Disneyana experience and more. DL Weekly starts now.
Welcome to Toad Hall. To ensure a safe and glorious drive in your motor car, remain firmly seated with your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside. Watch your children, and do try to drive more carefully than James and Vern. Ta-ta!
Hello and welcome to this episode of DL Weekly for the week of June 18th, 2025. I'm Tig Bushman.
And I'm Teresa Urban. We would like to thank everyone who supports the show. But this week, we would like to give a special shout out to Jayla for becoming a new weekly tier. Also, Mike M for increasing your support. And thank you to Rebecca WL and Mark T for your continued support. If you would like to help support the show and get ad-free versions of each episode, access to our supporter-only chat, plus a bunch of really fun other perks, head on over to dlweekly.net/support to become an official weekly tier. Quick side note of one of those perks, if you are in book club, our next meeting is this week on Sunday. Details will be in our Discord chat, but we would love to see as many of you there as we can. So calling all book club people, this is our second meeting to discuss the current book that we are working our way through, which is Dream Chasing by Bob Weiss.
Yeah. Who, spoiler alert for a future news story today, is going to be at the book signing this weekend as well. Now let's get to the news.
Extra, extra, read all about it. DL Weekly reports from intrepid correspondents Tag and Teresa. You heard it here first, ladies and gents. Breaking news!
Well, it is that time of year to start planning for the Halloween season at Disneyland. Next week, Oogie Boogie Bash tickets are going on sale. This is a competitive event to get tickets for, so be sure to get in early and pick your dates. Inspire Magic key holders can get tickets starting on June 24th, no earlier than 9 a.m. Disneyland time, with all other Magic key holders having an opportunity starting on June 25th. General public sales start on June 26th. Dates start even before the Halloween season this year on August 17th and run through October 31st.
We're very excited. This is something that we are going to try our luck at getting tickets for all four of us to go out and experience, because as you know, Tay and I have both experienced Oogie Boogie Bash, but James and Vern have not yet had the pleasure, and we thought it'd be such a fun thing to do, all four of us this year. So we will also be trying to snag some of the coveted Oogie Boogie Bash tickets. It is such a fun event. We've gone to a couple of after hours, the different nights, and this is easily one of our favorites. The character interactions for the treat trails are so fun. The decor and the whole just feel of the park is much different than what you get in the daytime. And it's just, I don't know. It's just a really, really fun time. Lots of entertainment, lots of characters. You see lots of folks in their costume Halloweened best. It's really, really fun.
Yeah, it is definitely, I think, one of their best after-hours events. There's just so much going on. There's characters, there's Villains Grove, there's a parade that's really amazing. There's a ton of stuff. If you want to see this, the best price, like the low price, starts at $139, and it goes up from there. I believe the most expensive night is $199 a person, and that is on Halloween itself. But if you want to go in the beginning of the whole event in the first couple dates in August, or you want to go on the first couple dates in September, those are your cheap $139 days. So if you would like to go but have a budget, that's the days you should shoot for. If you want to get closer, obviously, to the holiday, that kind of thing, obviously the price is going to go up and ranging in October anywhere from like $169 to $199. So,
of course, we've got a full list of all of that in our show notes.
Yes.
If you need to see what dates are what prices, so you can kind of get a plan together before you try and snag your tickets. Tag had sent me, I think, was this shared on social media? There was kind of this like fun artwork that Disney was sharing to promote Halloween time and specifically Oogie Boogie Bash, and they have one that they shared for Oogie Boogie Bash that shows California Adventure Park, some of the icons in the park. It has the parade route highlighted. It shows some of the different treat trail villains around the area. And he noticed, and I'm now nervous, that a couple of our favorite villains that were on treat trails are not pictured here. So Sid, who was on Pixar Pier, kind of in that bandshell area, there's just a little like pink fire icon back there. And then the one that really breaks my heart, Madam Mim, is not pictured on here, but I'm holding out a little glimmer of hope because there is a little green fire icon, but it's over like within the Grizzly River area, which there used to be. I want to say last time we were there, Mother Gothel was back there for her treat trail, and Madam Mim was in between like the Grizzly Peak and Carthay Circle, and it just has candy there now. So so it looks like we are getting a tease that there will be 2 new villains. No further hints or clues as to who they may be, but yeah, it does look like 2 new villains will be coming.
What I find interesting about this is, first of all, on this map, there is nobody in the spot where De La Cruz was, and then Mim, I think, was last time or something. Like they moved some different people in there.
Yeah, like right now, so it was where De La Cruz was the first year De La Cruz was meeting. I don't know what it's called. There's like this little...
They have it open only
alcove.
For like food events.
Yeah,
and
there's
stuff
like this
that.
little alcove thing that's behind Carthay Circle as you're heading like into the park, if that makes sense.
Right before you get to Avengers Campus.
Yeah,
it's between Avengers Campus and Carthay.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. They just have candy on that portion of the map. So I hope that it's still a villain treat trail.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
I mean, it is a treat trail because see the treat trails. That is a treat trail. We just don't know who's going to be there. See, so maybe, who knows?
I don't know.
But the other thing too that's interesting about this is, for me, I feel like there are some people that are like holdovers from previous years. I did not find that the guy from Big Hero 6 was that interesting, so I'm surprised that they brought him along for another year. I also feel like at this point, as much as I love her, I feel like Agatha's kind of worked her, like, it's kind of done.
The other thing that's a little interesting about Agatha too is just location, because we've got a lot of construction happening back in Avengers Campus, and actually Avengers Campus is kind of a little bit of a dead end, because you used to be able to currently, maybe it might change by the time Oogie Boogie Bash dates roll around, but currently you cannot go from Avengers Campus to Cars Land from that back little path area. That's closed due to the Avengers Campus expansion construction. So I was a little surprised that maybe she's going to be in a different spot and she won't be in the Inner Sanctum area. We'll find out. But yeah, that one I was also a little surprised about. I think De La Cruz makes sense. Of course, Oogie Boogie is now the only original character from the first Oogie Boogie Bash. Everyone else has rotated out. Sid was also one of the originals, but if he's rotated out, then yeah, Oogie Boogie is the last man standing, which, I mean, it's his party. It makes total
he ain't
sense.
going anywhere.
Makes total sense that he's there. He's in the Animation Academy building, and it's so fun and cool and immersive. Hades, we didn't get to meet Hades. He looked like really fun. He was new last year, as well as Dr. I don't remember his name. He's from Phineas. Yeah, that's it. Doofenshmirtz. He is from Phineas and Ferb. So what's interesting right now is look at the map. You've got 5 characters kind of in one little corner of the park, and then potentially 3, maybe 4, maybe 5 others kind of spread out throughout the area. So
what's interesting is I feel like they could put some more people some different places. They could put somebody over in the Paradise Gardens Park, like that like little meet and greet area would be a good spot for someone.
Cars Land.
I think that even you could have like a little treat trail character, whatever, as you're walking between the Incredicoaster and the restaurant there that I'm blanking on right now, but along the boardwalk.
The chicken.
No, I just mean like as you're walking around that boardwalk, that curve.
Oh,
where there's the
adorable.
The
adorable.
You could put somebody along there.
Yeah, you could.
Because that's a decent spot. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But some cool things. It's going to be a great party again, I'm sure. I mean, they'd have to do... I'm not daring Disney, but they'd have to do something pretty drastic to make it not a good event. And I think, one thing that I, for some reason, was very surprised by was looking at because you don't realize it when you're there. So the official party time is from 6 to 11, which is only 5 hours. And you do get mix-in starting at 3, which gives you 3 extra hours in the park. But I don't know if I'm sure we've talked about this before, but those 3 hours from 3 to 6 makes the park even that much busier because it's all the regular day guests plus the party guests. But that is a great time if you're going to do any type of dining to do that before the party officially starts, because usually a couple hours before you can get your credentials and all of that stuff for the party. So, yeah.
And just real quick, if you are planning your Halloween time vacation, don't forget concierge can help you with that. They even help snag the coveted Oogie Boogie Bash park tickets if you book your vacation with concierge. So you know that we love them. I'm much closer with them since I have now become a planner with concierge, but that's something that any of the concierges, including myself, would be more than happy to help you book and help you snag those really awesome party tickets. So if you're interested, concierge.com, you can fill out a free quote request, or you can message me, turban at concierge.com to email me directly. There are other updates on the Halloween season at the resort. For 2025, Halloween time will start August 22nd and run through October 31st. Mickey and Minnie will get new outfits for the occasion as usual, but this time there will be a twist on the 70th costumes. Haunted Mansion Holiday is returning along with Halloween Screams. Over in Disney California Adventure, Luigi's Honkin' Halloween, Mater's Junkyard Jamboree, and Guardians of the Galaxy Monsters After Dark are all returning. Mickey's Trick and Treat is coming to the Disney Theater for the fall, replacing the Disney Junior Mickey Mouse Clubhouse Live. Of course, food and merchandise will be coming as well.
So the official quote from Disney about the costumes is Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse and their friends will dress to impress this Halloween in bright new looks featuring swirling colors of purple, green, and orange, a twist on their 70th celebration outfits. So I thought that was cool to bring in the 70th and Halloween together. I thought that was kind of cool. I'm excited to see what these look like because I feel like a lot of times the concept art looks really cool, but I feel like in the end it actually ends up looking even better. So I'm excited to see kind of what that looks like. And of course, everybody's favorite thing to either like or dislike is, of course, the Haunted Mansion Holiday coming back with the fact that, it takes it down and then, you can't experience the regular version.
I
wonder what they'll decorate in the new queue.
Oh, that's true. We've got new decorations for the queue. Of course, we always look forward to what the gingerbread house is going to be all about. I'm curious, though, with our new bride in the attic, she's shifted from her previous position. So I'm curious if she will still be part of the Haunted Mansion for the holiday season, or if she will be retreating and not taking part of the festivities like she had in previous years. So I'm curious if the bride will have a place or not have a place in Haunted Mansion Holiday. Time will tell.
Yeah. All the regular treat things will come back. But with Halloween time and Disneyland's 70th happening at the same time, you might wonder, well, what's staying from the 70th during the spooky season? Well, Paint the Night, World of Color Happiness, and the Tapestry of Happiness will continue to run throughout the season. Disney says, quote, areas and attractions around the resort will retain special touches, including decorative accents and the colorful castle photo opportunity in the Esplanade.
Ooh, I do like, because it's kind of one of the things I was wondering too. I'm curious now if some of this stuff will be staying through like the holiday time. I don't know if it will though, because we have a holiday fireworks show. We have a holiday parade. And then, of course, the castle transforms into, a snowy version of the castle. So I can't really imagine that, like, the 70th bunting will still... Maybe it will. I don't know. But I'm curious. This was not something I was thinking that they do, but I'm really excited that they are doing it.
I'm betting that they leave the bunting because the bunting is so minimal that I think you can still do all the other stuff around it and just not change out that middle section.
Yeah, could be.
Because it's really just kind of right over the drawbridge. So I'm thinking that stuff might stay. But I'll tell you one thing I was happy about is neither producer has seen, Paint the Night in a long time. World of Color Happiness at all.
And Tapestry of Happiness.
And Tapestry of Happiness at all. So it's nice that they'll be able to see these things. And now they've seen... Right? Wondrous.
Yes.
Yeah. So they've seen Wondrous Journey. So, like, that's not a big deal because obviously the Halloween Screams fireworks will be going. But yeah. And like a cavalcade. I don't think they'll care that much about the cavalcade. But I'm just glad that they get to experience some of the 70th entertainment as well. And if you haven't been able to make it and you happen to be there during the Halloween time, it's kind of like a bonus. It's two things at once.
Well, this Saturday, a few authors of Disneyland books will be at Wonderground for a book release and signing. Don Hahn and Christopher Merritt will be on hand to sign their newest book, The Happiest Place on Earth, The Incredible Story of Walt Disney's Disneyland. Martha Blanding and Tim O'Day will be there for Groundbreaking Magic, a Black woman's journey through the happiest place on Earth. Matthew Reinert will be there for Disneyland Park, a pop-up park tour. And finally, Bob Weiss with his new book, Dream Chasing, My 4 Decades of Success and Failure with Walt Disney Imagineering. The event is from 10 to 11:30 a.m. So, it's a quick one, but man, is it packed full of so many wonderful and incredible people.
Yeah, if you just want to be in the presence of these folks, this is a great opportunity. All of these books sound amazing. Obviously, for our, Teresa mentioned a little bit earlier, our book club book at the moment is that Dream Chasing by Bob Weiss. So that's an incredible book that we've been reading.
We both have Groundbreaking Magic, a Black woman's journey through the happiest place on Earth on our to read lists.
I was going to say, I thought you were saying we had it. I was like, I don't think we have it.
No. It's on our to read list as well as the happiest place on Earth, the incredible story of Walt Disney's Disneyland. We got to see, we'll talk about it later. Don and Chris were both at the Disneyana event that we attended to discuss this book and kind of the process behind this book. So not that we weren't excited about it before, but after hearing, more of the backstory and the time and effort and devotion that was put into this book, we're even more excited for it.
We also got to flip through a copy of it that somebody had, because if you're a D23 Gold member, one of the options you can pick this year, because this year, unlike previous years, you can pick between a bunch of different options of your member gift.
Or if you're like me and have a hard time picking, you can pick them all.
Are you picking the all?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I was looking at it earlier today when I was writing the script, and I was like,
so tempting.
I think I'm just going to stick with the one that comes with the book and the plaque and the reproduction of the plaque. So we'll see how that goes.
But yes, mark your calendars if you are a Disney history person or just, a Disney, like, more than just enjoy visiting the parks type person. This would be a fantastic event to go to, because these people are all, like we said, very incredible. There's some very amazing stories that they have written down to tell and share with all of us. And they're all just really awesome, great down-to-earth people. Of course, Martha Blanding is a recent Disney Legend inductee, and Don Hahn is also a Disney legend. Bob Weiss was like the president of Imagineering for quite some time too. So like really amazing, incredible people that are going to be hanging out at Wonderground, there to say hi for you, or say hi to you, and sign your books too if that's what you're looking for.
Something to take special note of, though, which I think is an unfortunate thing, is there is a side note here. Special appearance guests will only sign their respective merchandise, which must be purchased at the Disneyland Resort on the event day. Limit of 2 signed items per guest. No personal items will be signed. Valid Disneyland Resort receipt may be required. So if you have your Don Hahn book from D23, he may not sign that. I'm not saying he won't, but they're saying in their information that's not.
Yeah, this might be an event specific rule, I guess, would be a good way of saying.
So just keep that in mind. We're not saying it won't happen, but that's what they've said for the event.
Nope, that's a great thing to point out.
A couple of construction items that we've been following at the resort have some updates. Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room has a reopening date of July 3rd, so coming up soon. And Pixie Hollow has been behind construction walls for quite a while and looks to be returning on July 2nd. And the reason that I have the July 2nd date is, according to the Disneyland.com website, that is the date where they actually have time frames for meet and greets there. Oh. So that makes me think that, like, for sure, because before it was just like Pixie Hollow and it didn't say closed, but this one actually has meet and greet times. So I'm very excited.
So curious to know what the heck has been happening and going on in Pixie Hollow. So as much as I'm very, very excited to see all of the updates and TLC that has happened over at the Tiki Room, I'm just so curious because we have not even really been hearing any solid whispers of what's going on behind those Pixie Hollow construction walls. Of course, we've seen that they did some maintenance and repainting of the water lagoon area in front of Pixie Hollow, but there's all sorts of different speculations online, but again, nothing that's solid. So I'm just really, really curious what has been going on with those pixies for the last it's been months at this point.
I stand corrected. I just went to look again, and they actually have times now on June 29th.
Look at that.
So I'm going to update that on here, but June 29th even. Look at that. So if you're a Pixie Hollow or a Pixie fan or a Tinkerbell fan, they've got times from 8:15 to 10:30 and 11:15 to 2:30. So
the other exciting thing too is over at the Tiki Room, it's not just the interior of the attraction that was getting some TLC and some maintenance, but also the exterior. When we were there, we saw that they were giving some special attention to all the different tiki gods in the garden area that's outside of the Tiki Room itself. It's that waiting area that you get to hang out in. And then, of course, all of the Tiki God statues come alive and tell their stories and explain who they are. So we know the big thing was that Tangaroa, the big tree, had some special work done. I think they may have actually been replaced. And from what we could tell, outside of, across the way, outside the wall, it looks like Tangaroa is higher. We're very excited to see the Tiki Gods fall from her limbs again, because that effect had not been working the last few times we had been there. And just an overall, like I said, just given this wonderful old historic attraction the TLC it deserves.
I totally agree. And I'm excited to see the TLC for the inside because it's needed a little bit. It's actually been running pretty okay considering that it hasn't been refurbished in a long time. But I'm excited to see, just everything working together like you get after a refurbishment.
Well, when we were in the parks a few weeks ago, we noticed new lampposts in front of the Main Street train station by the Mickey Floral, so like the entrance side. Well, walls are back up in this area to install more of these lampposts. The new lights look like gas lamps, but they actually use regular bulbs with a mesh over them to give them that vintage look. Leave it to Imagineering. Look at those details.
What's so interesting to me is Teresa and I saw this, and we were kind of like going back and forth of like, are those new? I think they're new. And they were very bright, first of all, was another thing, too.
Well, the weird thing, remember only the ones on the right side were lit, but the left side
Well, the left side's where the construction walls are now.
Yeah, they were in place, but they weren't actually like lit up.
So my only slight concern is, and I don't remember, maybe I'll have to look real quick, were the ones here also gas-powered before? My concern is, are they trying to phase out the actual gas-powered lights on Main Street?
I don't know.
I hope not.
Well, and also, I mean, we don't know 100%, but Mice Chat is reporting that they're actual bulbs with a mesh over them to make them appear like they're gas lanterns. We don't know for sure if that's true or not. That's what Mice Chat is reporting.
Well, and that's what we noticed when we were there too, that they were real lights.
Did we notice that they were real lights? Mm-hmm. Or I thought you were saying that they were gas when we were there.
No, I was saying that they're light bulbs, but I was saying that I couldn't remember if they used to be gas or not, because the ones on Main Street are gas, the ones that look kind of like this. So like I said, my concern is, are they trying to swap these out for... Because the ones on Main Street are actual gas lamps, but I don't know if the ones in front of...
like little pilot lights.
Yeah, but I don't know if the ones in front of the train station were included in those or not. Mm. We'll have to figure it out. Anyway.
We'll do some research.
Yeah. Well, we talked about the neat Magic Band touch points around Disneyland in a previous episode, but there was still one location that had not come online yet. The last point in Tomorrowland, themed to Autopia, is finally online. This one's a bit of a letdown, as this one only makes car noises when activated. Now, there are 3 colors that you can tap your Magic Band to, and they make 3 different car noises, but that's kind of it.
I'm kind of curious because this one, I'm wondering if this was the original intent for this touch point, because it took them quite a while to get this one in place, and it seems like it's much less frills than like the one that they built and animates in Fantasyland.
Sure.
Where like there's little like things come alive and move and do different things. So I'm a little surprised that noises would have taken that much longer to install, but also, I don't know.
So, real-time follow-up. So, I found a photo of a light post outside for the Disney 100, so fairly recent, and it was just a white.
Oh, it was
light,
white.
so
it
wasn't
white. So we don't. Yeah, you can't see inside to know.
Yeah,
for
so
sure
I'm
what it was.
guessing not gas.
Yeah, I'm gonna assume so too.
But
a much different look than what those new lanterns look like now.
I feel like we're gonna pay more attention to this stuff now than we used to, which is kind of funny, right? Like,
this is a special level of Disneyland nerddom that you reach when you start paying really close attention to things like light fixtures and if they've changed or not. I'm proud. We don't need to be ashamed of that. We're in good company. All the lovely people listening, I'm sure, have the same feelings and notice the same things and are like, makes them smile when they notice these things too. Well, an update that came to Epcot at Walt Disney World has made its way to DCA. Soarin' Around the World has been updated to fix, thank goodness, the skewed Eiffel Tower in the fly-through, fly-by attraction. This gives me so much more excitement. Like, it's a small update, but it's going to make a huge impact.
I agree. It's one of those things that was like really like they couldn't figure this out before. I mean, it's kind of impressive, I guess, in some ways, but they couldn't figure this out before. And so it's really good that they've figured this out. And I know people that have seen this in Epcot like rave about it. So,
well, even just videos I've seen of people that have, taken video as they're doing it, you can see a noticeable change. Before, it really mattered where you sat because the further off center you were, the more like curved the Eiffel Tower would get. It almost felt like it was a C at some points, but yeah, it was
very bad.
I'm very, very glad that they got this updated.
Well,
straightened out, if you will.
Oh, geez. Well, over on Pixar Pier, the new Rex meet and greet is available. Rex is out and looks as adorably scary, if you could say that, about Rex. You were waiting for this, and we never got a chance to go see it.
We never got a chance to go over and see him. Yeah, Rex made his debut while we were at the parks, but it was after we talked about it, but we didn't have anything else to do in DCA, and we're looking forward to doing specific things in Disneyland, so we never made it all the way back to Pixar Pier to see Rex. I'm hoping that maybe he'll be there still when we visit in July. I know that they were saying that it may be a limited engagement for Rex to be doing his meet and greets, but he looks so good.
He does look pretty good, like as far as like a character that's challenging like that.
Yeah,
totally.
He looks like he just walked right off the screen.
I haven't seen video or anything yet, but I'm curious the motion and the movement and stuff, how that's going to work out.
This episode brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Shifting a little money here, a little there, and hoping it all works out? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can get a better budgeter and potentially lower your insurance bill too. You tell Progressive what you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll help find you options within your budget. Try it today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Coverage varies by plan. View contracts and exclusions at endurancewarranty.com.
If you're driving a car or truck with an expired warranty and suddenly lost your transmission or needed a full engine repair, would a $4,000 repair bill leave you stranded? I'm Danica Patrick. Don't get caught off guard with a vehicle breakdown. Choose the company I trust, Endurance. No matter the mileage, if your vehicle is less than 20 years old, Endurance offers comprehensive auto protection plans for any budget. Protection on the drivetrain, electrical, transmission, AC, and more. Plus, benefits like 24/7 roadside assistance and rental car reimbursement on any plan. Endurance handles everything, from making the claim through the repair process to paying the certified mechanic of your choice. Don't get caught off guard with a vehicle breakdown. Act now and get 1 full year of elite benefits, a $2,000 value, free.
Visit EnduranceWarranty.com for your fast free quote today. That's EnduranceWarranty.com.
Yoo-hoo! Hello, everybody! It's me, Heimlich. My stomach is so empty. Hey, help me to go find something to eat. Come on, everybody. Here we go.
Well, this week in Snack Chat, we are going to start talking about all of the delicious things that we got to try and enjoy during our most recent trip. We decided we're going to kind of break this out into categories. So like this week, we're going to be talking about all of the savory eats. So think of things that you'd be eating like for lunch and dinner time type of eats. We're going to start in Disneyland over at Bengal Barbecue with the grilled Tahitian ribs. So this was really delicious. First of all, I rated a 4.5 out of 5. The sauce was amazing. The ribs themselves were very tender. I ate it with if you want, you can, eat it like a rib, or I just used a fork and a knife. Tender, fell right off the bone kind of style. They are beef ribs, so they're different than pork ribs with how they kind of came out. The ribs are almost off to the side, if that makes sense. And it's just this really nice piece of meat. And it came with a couple of different sides that were also very good. It was a perfect size, portion size for me. But yeah, I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was absolutely great. We were with some weekly tiers, and they also got the Tahitian ribs for one of their items, and they also really enjoyed it too. So it wasn't just me.
I know this isn't on our list, but I do want to mention it since I have not had it before. But at Bengal Barbecue, I got the grilled asparagus this time, and that was really good. I've never had it before. Really, really good. Really enjoyed it. Thought that because it's bacon wrapped asparagus, it was very good. I was amazing. So one of the other things we had was at Cafe Daisy in Toontown, and we had the chicken bacon ranch flop over. Now, mind you, we liked this a lot. Even though when we were eating this, it was like 90 something degrees and it was very warm out that day,
and
but
we had not a non-shaded table because of course all the shaded
it's very busy out there.
We're taken, which is okay.
To remind folks, this has ranch, bacon bits, diced chicken, mozzarella, and provolone on it. And of course, like the flop over. I thought this was really good. I thought that it had a lot of flavor. I think I remember saying to you that I thought it was going to be good, but it was even better than I thought it was going to be.
We both gave it a 5 out of 5.
Yeah, it was very good.
Very, very good. Kind of like to the point that we're hoping that maybe this sticks around and becomes a permanent menu item because it was very delicious, but delicious differently than how just the pizza flopovers are because you don't have like that marinara sauce on it. So it just gives you, it was like a nice garlicky, creamy deliciousness.
It was good.
Super, super tasty. Next up over at Rancho, I tried the fried tamale walking taco, which I really just enjoyed this, but also really enjoyed the fun throwback because a walking taco, I don't know if everyone knows what a walking taco is, but a walking taco is something that's very popular here in the Midwest. And basically you take a small bag of Fritos, open it, and you put like a scoop of taco meat, and then you put your cheese and your lettuce and your sour cream and your tomatoes on top of it. And then you eat your concoction out of the bag. And that's what we call a walking taco. So I had seen some folks online not really understand why this was called a walking taco. It's because of the Fritos, which is the really fun throwback because what did Rancho used to be? Casa del Fritos. So
was it where
it's where Doritos
were
created and invented at Casa del Fritos. So I thought it was a really, really fun tie-in to like original opening day Disneyland.
I was
like,
confused too because I looked at your plate and I was like, "That's a walking taco." I also thought
it wasn't how it. Yeah, you there was no walking around with this tamale.
Yeah, wasn't that also the one that I looked over and I was like, that seems really small. Like the portion size was not huge.
It was small, but it was very filling. So it was a fried tamale topped with chili, corn chips, aka Fritos, diced onions with sour cream and shredded cheese on top. The chili did have a little bit of a mild kick, not like kick you in the teeth, like whew, kind of a kick, but it did say hello. The tamale was very delicious. The whole thing was good. The Fritos though. My only complaint is I wish there was more Fritos because the crunch and saltiness of the Fritos, along with the rest of the flavors, was great. I gave this a 4.5 out of 5.
We will talk about this later when we talk about sweet treats in another snack chat in the future. But it was almost the same thing with the Fritos. The Fritos were the star of the thing. Again, not on our Disney 70th list, but since we're at Rancho, I can talk about this burrito bowl that they have there that Teresa made fun of me because this was my thing for this trip. I kept talking about it. I was like, we could go back and get the burrito bowl.
Every trip there is something that tag kind of like latches on to.
And this time it was this burrito bowl. In fact, I just want to pull it up in the menu really quick. Of course,
while
I
you
went
do
to a
that,
totally
I need to
different
correct
thing.
myself. Casa de Fritos was opened 3 weeks after opening day, so it not a like true opening day location, but pretty darn close.
So it was a Sonora bowl with beef is what I had. So beef served in a bowl with rice or beans, topped with salsa fresca, sour cream, and cotija cheese. And it was amazing. And I am going to want to get it again next time we're there. So moving on. This one was, Teresa, it was on our list, but in typical Tag fashion, I forgot that it was on the list. And I went over, we stopped to, I don't remember why. I think I
put it on, it was like I had put it on the list, but when you read about it, you're just kind of like,
yeah.
I think that's what happened.
So we went over and I think I was like, I was trying to get my glow cube at Galactic Grill, the little Disneyland D glow cube. And I was like, those cottage fries kind of look good, forgetting that they were on our list. So I got the Space Place cottage fries, which are tossed in Parmesan butter and parsley served with a house-made ranch. Now, the thing here that has taken the internet by storm is this house-made ranch. It's not just like ranch that came out of a bottle. It was legitimately a house-made ranch, and it was very good. In fact, I thought that the cottage fries themselves were also very good. They were kind of, imagine like pickle slices, like the what do you call that, where they're cut like they cut
crinkle cut?
Like a crinkle. Thank you. They're like a crinkle cut, but a circular crinkle cut. Like you can get carrots cut that way or some other things. Anyway, it was really, really good. I thought they were great, and the ranch was like the standout thing for me. What did you think?
So for me, I don't think we got a fresh batch. They were kind of a little, I don't want to say soggy, but they weren't as crisp as I was wanting them to be. So I think we didn't get a fresh batch. But yeah, no, the ranch was absolutely delicious. I could have gone with a little bit more Parmesan butter. Maybe that's why they were a little soggy. Maybe there was too much Parmesan butter. But I didn't really taste that much Parmesan on them, but they were really enjoyable.
You're not even really like a huge ranch person, are you? Like,
me?
I'm a huge ranch person.
No,
are you? Okay.
I like ranch. But yeah, I think if we would have gotten them like hot and fresh, they would have been stellar.
Yeah. I thought that they were good even without hot and fresh, so if that tells you anything.
Yeah, exactly. Well, moving over to our final savory, we're heading over to DCA where we tried the pepperoni pizza pull-apart bread. We had high hopes for this one, but unfortunately this one was the lowest rated on the list, coming in at a 1.5. Why a 1.5, you may ask? If it was I don't even know how to describe what it was. It was hard to know that there was bread because the bread kind of was overtaken by lots and lots and lots of ricotta cheese.
Yeah. So looking at it, it looked just on the surface, it looked like it was going to be really good. To give you a visual, if you haven't seen a picture of this, it looks like 4 of those like Hawaiian king rolls with like cheese and pepperoni on top. It looks like, as the crust. Yeah.
Sliced it kind of like crisscross. So the cheese looked like it was down in the bread.
It looked really good.
I was expecting that we could like pick it up, and when we pulled it apart, we'd have nice cheese pulls kind of a thing. No.
It was hard to tell where the piece of bread ended and the ricotta began. It
just all blended.
It was all ricotta. I felt like I was just eating a lot of ricotta, and I don't mind ricotta, but I wanted. And then
it just wasn't what we were
my other
expecting.
thing was the pepperoni was sliced so thin you could barely tell there was pepperoni in each bite.
Yeah, more pepperoni, less ricotta is our hopes and thoughts with that one there.
It was just so different.
You know what though? I bet you it was also a hot day. The pizza pull apart bread may have hit different on like a fall or a chilly spring winter time, like a more cool season day. It probably would have hit different, but it was just overwhelmingly ricotta.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. So in the future weeks, unless there's another foodie guide that comes out, we'll keep chugging through. We have quite a few things still on our list.
Yes, we tried. We did really well because we made a shared list before we went in the parks and like made sure we were knocking things off. We went in. I was surprised. Spoiler alert, there was 11 cold brews on my list, and I chose not to get through all of them just because of what we were hearing from other folks in the park. But like, we got through our list really, really well.
And you'll hear.
I was pretty impressed because usually we make the list and we'll still have like a digital copy of the list, but we somehow forget to like look back at the list or
the only person that's good at this is both producers, because like if you give Vern a list, he will make sure that we get through a list. And James was the same way. James was listening to us on a previous trip, recording the podcast about food we wanted, and he was making notes in his notes app, and he
reminded us.
So when we were talking about
try this?
food, he's like, "I think you guys need to go do this now," and it's like, "Oh, okay." Anyway, so that's some things to look forward to for the next at least couple episodes, if not more. Well, if you enjoy listening to the show, please consider rating and reviewing the show on your podcast app of choice. It helps other Disney fans become weekly tiers and become part of the community.
DL Weekly announces the boarding of the Trivia Express, non-stop star speeder service to the moon of Endor. All passengers, please prepare for immediate boarding.
Hello, welcome to Trivia Land. As I was saying, thanks for the compliment in SnackChat.
You're welcome.
Just stating the facts over here, just the facts.
So nice, so nice. And thank you, listeners, for submitting questions. We had a hiccup on the tech in our form, and suddenly I got 20 submissions of questions. So,
woohoo!
Yeah, apparently it's been busy for a bit, so producer Vern and I are looking to integrate those in, but I already set my questions for the week by the time I got those. So
I'm looking forward to it.
I hope so, because I found the D23 website with their A to Z Disney, and I picked the letter J. So everything today is related to the letter J.
That sounds narcissistic.
I don't know if I'm as excited now.
What?
Because suddenly my brain can't think of anything.
Jumping jellyfish?
Jungle Cruise. Like,
there you go.
Like, whew. We'll see how this goes.
Okay. So these are all questions related to J?
Yes.
Okay.
Attractions related to starting with the letter J. So we'll start with the first one. When was the 2-story queue added to the Jungle Cruise?
Oh, it was when Indiana Jones opened up.
So I'm going to say 94. Because I think it was added the year before Jungle Cruise, or before Indy opened.
I'll say 94 as well.
Okay.
Both going 94?
Yep.
Any guess on the month, just for funsies?
Oh my goodness, no.
Okay.
May.
Great. Question 2.
No, March.
March. Oh, ooh, okay. Wrong letter M.
You don't want to go. You know what?
Maybe it's June or July.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. Maybe it's June or July.
I'm not that egotistical.
Okay, so you switched to March. Got it.
All right. Question 2. What was added to the Junior Autopia cars to enable the juniors to drive?
What was...
Like guardrails or like elevated gas pedal or something? A booster seat?
I know. I'm like thinking through. I'm like, what?
It was Junior Autopia, not regular Autopia. So
Junior Autopia, yes.
I'm going to say like a booster seat because I feel like the kids need to Because they need to be able to reach the pedal and they need to be able to see over the dashboard.
Yeah, but you don't think like they built the car smaller?
I don't know anything about the Junior Autopia.
I'm going to say an extended gas pedal.
You're probably right.
Maybe. Moving on, our third question. What did the Imagineers do when designing the Jolly Trolley so it did not just glide down the tracks of Toontown, but it jiggles, lurches, and weaves?
Wait, what are you asking?
What did the Imagineers
do to the design of the Jolly Trolley so it did not just glide down the tracks of Toontown, but it jiggles, lurches, and weaves?
Magic. They did magic.
They did magic. That feels like a get out of jail free answer for the Monopoly
I feel like they
thing.
did something in my mind. It's like, so when you look up in a carousel and they've got the bars and like it as it twists, like it goes up and down. Like I'm wondering if it's a mechanism like that as it rolls that it like allows it to rock back and forth.
I feel like something like that where the base, like the actual wheels, were just gliding over the tracks, but there was something between that and like the seats that would kind of like how the Indiana Jones cars work, right?
Yeah.
Like how it's all
hydraulics.
There, we'll say hydraulics.
Is that the word you were looking for? You were just trying to get there?
No, but like that's a good way to just like
summarize it.
Sure. Yeah. You're going with
I'm going with some type of like mechanical thing, almost like a carousel.
Pedal.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, carousel like.
I'm really curious to find out what the real answer to this is.
Right? It's such a great answer. But I got one more question and a discussion topic before we talk answers. So my last question, our last J attraction, how many vessels are there on the Jumpin' Jellyfish attraction?
Oh.
How many what?
Vessels. How many spots can people
like per
sit in?
side? Or so like how many people can ride it?
No, just like how many jellyfish jump up and down. And yes, I'm looking for between the two towers.
I think it's 10.
12. Because I think it's 2 jellyfish per
6?
side, and I think there's 3 sides. And there's 2 towers.
See, I was thinking that there was like an off. You're probably right. I'm switching my answer to yours. So I was thinking it was an uneven number because I was thinking about the jelly canopies, I guess would be what you call them.
Oh, sure.
I was thinking about way up there, but you're right. When you're on at the bottom, it's 2, like.
Yeah.
2 would make more sense. Well, maybe nope. I'm going back. I'm going with the gut, sticking with 10.
Okay.
I love that throughout this section of Trivia Land, you both have had the statement of, I think you're probably right. So
I feel like that's Trivia Land every week.
I know. This has definitely been some of the most diverse answers you two have given me in a while, and I haven't had you just guessing random numbers, so I am impressed. But you'll have to know how impressed you are later. We'll get our answers after the discussion topic.
Coverage varies by plan. View contracts and exclusions at endurancewarranty.com.
If you're driving a car or truck with an expired warranty and suddenly lost your transmission or needed a full engine repair, would a $4,000 repair bill leave you stranded? I'm Danica Patrick. Don't get caught off guard with a vehicle breakdown. Choose the company I trust, Endurance. No matter the mileage, if your vehicle is less than 20 years old, Endurance offers comprehensive auto protection plans for any budget. Protection on the drivetrain, electrical, transmission, AC, and more. Plus, benefits like 24/7 roadside assistance and rental car reimbursement on any plan. Endurance handles everything, from making the claim through the repair process to paying the certified mechanic of your choice. Don't get caught off guard with a vehicle breakdown. Act now and get 1 full year of elite benefits. A $2,000 value, free.
Visit EnduranceWarranty.com for your fast free quote today. That's EnduranceWarranty.com.
Well, for this week's discussion topic, we are talking about the wonderful time we had at the Disneyana event, which took place on Saturday, May 31st, which was a day full of presentations as well as a day honoring some very special folks. And then Sunday, June 1st, we took we had a very full day because that was actually the day that we did the archives presentation was that morning. We were able to stop by the show and sale for a bit in the afternoon before we headed back to the resort for our wonderful meetup with all of you folks. So this is just an event that we really, really enjoy. We've planned many a trip around specifically when this event is happening because it's just such a nice, intimate, chill, Disney history, nerd out thing. So think like, right, what you get at D23, but scale that back hugely. Even if you've been to the Mouse Meet in the Pacific Northwest, scale it back. It's still like a more intimate setting than even the Mouse Meet is. So it's just really neat because you get to rub elbows and have great conversations and be able to approach some of these really fantastic people that you don't always get to be able to sit and chat with. So we've made some really great connections, made some really amazing friends through smaller events like this. And it's always just such a fun time. We get to learn all sorts of new things. So we wanted to share what went on at this most recent Disneyana event with all of you.
So the very first talk on the very first day was Jim Magon, who, spoiler alert, he's going to be on next week as our guest. So we got a couple episodes of his wonderful thing. If you haven't heard of him, which some people may not have, he is definitely, if you were a child in the late 80s, early 90s,
Yes.
you know his stuff because
You
he's
do.
done DuckTales and Tailspin and Gummy Bears and
Chippendale Rescue Rangers,
he's been involved in all that.
Goof Troop.
So our first discussion was him with Noelle North, who was a voice actor.
Yeah, she was a
as
voice
well.
actor specifically for some characters on the Gummy Bears. And it was just really interesting. And actually, when we were talking with Jim for the episodes that he's going to be on, he and Noelle hadn't seen each other, been able to sit down and hang out in person for years. So it was almost like it was a little reunion for them. So it was really, really fun hearing their stories about, creating this show. We won't get too much into it because we want you to hear it from Jim. We talk about it with him on next week's show, kind of like how the show came to be and just the creative process behind it and all the different aspects of it. But it was just really, really amazing. The thing that's also wild is how many of these things he had his hands in. And he did a lot of like story writing. So he wasn't in animation, he wasn't in voice acting, but he was kind of doing a lot of the story writing for these shows, screenwriting, that sort of thing. And yeah, so without folks like Jim, these characters, that's kind of like, right, step one is developing, what these characters are going to be like, what their personalities are, and then it's up to the animators and the voice actors to really bring those characters off the page and bring them to life for all of us to really enjoy. So he has a ton of great stories. A really fun thing too was he had Corey Burton on. He's joined us via Zoom, and he was also a voice actor that Jim worked with for many different projects. But one of the things that they did not work together on, but Jim shared, which was Corey's special, connections to the park and to Disneyland. Specifically, Corey voiced the ghost hosts for the Haunted Mansion holiday overlay. So he was Paul Frees at that point, I think, had passed. And so Corey took on the role of the ghost host for Haunted Mansion holiday. So he read, he just off the top of his head did part of the spiel, and that was just really neat to see that voice, that iconic voice that we know and love in Haunted Mansion holiday, actually coming out of the person that it belongs to. So that was really, really cool. There was other different things that he's done throughout the parks, but that's probably the one that we were both like, what?
Tram.
Oh yeah, that's right. The tram. We were not, that was the one that we were just blown away.
He did
by.
the tram one too. Yeah, he did a part of the spiel for the tram, the Mickey and Friends tram, which was, I don't know. I thought it was so amazing that, again, like Teresa said, to see it come out of someone's mouth, because you hear this stuff all the time, but to see it come out of somebody's mouth is just crazy. So their presentation was great.
We're going to not dive too deep into Jim's presentation again, because we were very fortunate to be able to spend some time chatting one-on-one with Jim. And so we'll let Jim share his stories with all of you.
Which he has a lot of cool stuff.
Yes, he
and
does.
that'll be next week. So the next presentation was Tim O'Day. Well, he's a historian and writer. He was a PR executive. He told a lot of great stories, like the fact that he came up with the happiest turkey on earth. So when the turkey got pardoned, bringing it to Disneyland as part of the 50th anniversary, I was also surprised that he named the D23 fan club. Like he was responsible for like coming up with the D23 name. I remember hearing that. I was like, what? Really? Wonderful guy. Him and Don Hahn were also here. And the two of them together are just infectious with their just conversations in general.
And Christopher Merritt. Don't forget Chris.
Well, I was getting there, but I was just saying, like, those two are such personalities, and like together, it's like magic was happening on stage of just their person. I don't know. I just there were a couple moments of like quick offhanded little comments they made to each other that was just hilarious. So talk about Tim O'Day a little bit.
Yeah.
I already fangirled over him.
So what this presentation was about was the new book, of course, that Don and Chris co-wrote together, celebrating 70 years of Disneyland. The thing that was so cool is we got to see a lot of different photos and different kind of excerpts that are going to be part of the books, but we got to hear like the story behind the photos, either like how it was uncovered in the archives or why they specifically chose this photo or this story to share and tell. But they were very intentional because they know that there's been a lot of different books that have been written about Disneyland and the history of the parks. So with this book, they wanted to accomplish a few things. One being they wanted to show photos and tell stories that maybe you haven't heard before. So they really dug into the archives to kind of uncover some things that haven't been shared before. So that's really, really neat. But then they also wanted to make sure that they dispelled some rumors that have kind of just come to be, I think, because they came, it started at some point and people just kind of went with it. One that they talked about and specifically addressed is around opening day. And they talked about how the women's heels sinking into the pavement, like the asphalt, during opening day because the pavement wasn't set and it was so hot and all this stuff, that really wasn't a thing. And actually, like, through their research, they didn't see any mention of it until sometime it was in like the 70s or 80s or something. It was quite a bit after it had happened that was the first time it was mentioned.
And they got weather reports that said that like it was
in the 70s,
so like that wouldn't be hot enough.
In the low 70s, so it wouldn't have been hot enough to have done that. So just interesting things like that. And there's quite a few of those. I'm sure everyone has heard other people. So I thought it was really interesting and really good that they were taking the time to kind of, put it out there and like correct some of those misconceptions or misperceptions about different events in history.
Yeah. And they pride themselves on, trying to be accurate and all that stuff. I have a photo here from one of the things that Walt went with Ward Kimball to, wasn't this at the Chicago Railroad thing?
Yeah.
And there's kind of like a guest book. And it was kind of funny because Ward Kimball signed it. And right above it was Retlaw Yensid with a picture of a locomotive off to the side that said world's longest locomotive because it's this kind of drawn out locomotive. But that's, if you're smart and you look at it, Retlaw Yensid is Walter Disney spelled backwards. But then on the very next page, Walt did sign his name, Walt Disney from Hollywood. So it was cool to find stuff like that they found in their research and stuff. And it sounds like they spent a ton of time coming together to find like the to get to the end of all of these different like things that happen with Disneyland opening up and the history of Disneyland.
Yeah. So tons. I mean, again, we kind of talked about this before, as if Tag and I weren't excited about this book prior to this talk. Hearing like the creative process and thought process and intention and kind of more details of like the behind the scenes to make this book a reality just really got us way more interested and way more excited about this. And they were kind of joking, Don and Chris, and Tim, because the book right now was sold out across the resort, and like they had to order more. So it's been very, very popular, which is awesome. Of course, if you are a D23 member, for your D23 membership gift, this is one of the gifts that you can choose to upgrade to with your standard membership. So it looks great. It is like a table size book, so it is not like a tuck in your backpack, read on a park bench style book, but with it being this nice table sized book, that means there's lots of photos and like lots of really, really cool stuff. But yeah, they spent tons of times in the archives unearthing some stuff. They were talking about this concept that they had heard about in Imagineering, and like they had heard like rumors of it, but like didn't really think it was probably actually a thing until when they were digging around in the archives, they found it, and it was something about like radiation. Remember, there was like some weird,
there was an attraction that they were going to have in Tomorrowland that was from like some company or whatever. They were going to give everybody like little pieces of radioactive material, and so and they found like this walkthrough, and they're like, well, that would have been a really bad idea if they would have done that. It was
kind of just like this strange, like this was all this like, okay, so this wasn't actually rumor. It got far enough that there was like concept art and like maps and schematics and whatever, but it was like a uranium hunt thing. I don't remember what it was. It was one of the sponsors
wanted this uranium hunt, and so anyway, really interesting. By the way, the book, because we haven't named it, is we talked about it a little bit earlier in the news, but The Happiest Place on Earth: The Incredible Story of Walt Disney's Disneyland is the book. Totally crazy thing.
It was an attraction. Okay, it was concept art created by Claude Coates for an attraction called Uranium Hunt. So that was the attraction name, was Uranium Hunt. But the fact that they, found it is just wild. I'm going to put this article in our show notes, because if you are a D23 member, Chris and Don did a presentation for I believe it was called the D23 Gold Theater, about the book. They did this earlier in the year, but Laughing Place looks like they did a really nice write-up on that presentation, which also has some of the photos that they shared in it too. So we will share a link to that in the show notes if it's something, if you're waiting for your book to get to you in the mail, this will maybe tie you over before your book comes. But yeah, it talks about the Uranium Hunt attraction, which is just...
You think nowadays you're like, that would never fly now.
Absolutely wild. And then the other crazy thing too was that it was something like when you, at the end of the hunt, you got a piece of like uranium as a souvenir to take home with you, which is just absolutely crazy. So just, you never know. You just never know.
So the next presentation that happened was one that, I wasn't exactly sure what to expect from it, but I actually thought it was a really interesting panel. So they had a bunch of different influencers from different platforms. So there was somebody from TikTok, there's a couple people from YouTube, there was a couple people from Instagram or Facebook that were there, all talking about how they kind of became influencers and how Disney has impacted their life and all of these different things. And it was super interesting. So the influencers that were part of this panel, we had, of course, ones that you might know in the Disneyland sphere, like Gothic Rosie, who does a lot of accessibility things with the parks, and she does amazing work. We are hoping to have her on in the future. We did talk to her about it, and she seems open to coming on. So we'll probably have her on in the future. We had Justin Scard from the YouTube channel Random Land was there. There was
like one of the OG influencers, YouTubers for Disneyland.
Yes. There was not your typical Disney.
Yeah, and she does more. It started out like as a blog and then kind of shifted over to social media. We also heard from Diz Cartel, Soulful Serotonin, Ryan the Sidekick, and One Step Adventures 73.
Yeah, so there was quite a panel. And what was interesting was they asked some questions about, and they told some interesting stories about like meeting listeners or fans, how it's changed their life, different things they've done.
Why, like how they got into it, what keeps them going, what keeps them motivated.
It was really, really interesting to hear kind of where people come from, because something that you listeners may or may not have any insight into, is just like, we create content, so it's interesting to hear other people's like experiences, and it's kind of great to hear other influencers. I don't consider ourselves influencers. We just sit and make a podcast, but I mean, I guess we could be influencers. But it was nice to hear that kind of all of them felt similarly to what we have, which is, they really like their communities that they've built online. They started doing it, most of them started doing it out of like just a love for the parks or different things, and it just kind of blew up. A couple of the folks were talking about how it started where they just created like a separate account because people were tired of seeing them post their Disney stuff on their mains. Yeah,
it was Diz Cartel was one of the folks that did that, where he, like wanted to like share these things, but didn't want to necessarily, not that, I don't want to say like he was hiding it from his friends and family, but he didn't want to like overwhelm his friends and family. So he just kind of created a side place for it. Same thing with Not Your Typical Disney, created kind of a side account to just be Disney focused because they were just like us, very passionate about Disney and the parks. And they wanted to share their excitement with other folks that have the same feelings. So it was kind of funny because again, not that they were trying to hide things or anything, but they started back when like being an influencer wasn't really a thing. Now it's kind of more of a thing. More people do it. It's more widely known, and I guess maybe more widely understood. But back when they started, they thought that maybe people would be like, why is this grown adults going on and on and on about Disneyland and, or Disneyland, Disney parks, whatever. So we thought that was kind of interesting because I think all Disney adults go through some phase of that at some point in their life where you kind of have a little, maybe like shame or embarrassment, or like it's not something.
Did you have this?
You talk about with like all people. No, not really, but it was one of those like.
The reason I say this is because I definitely had this.
You did. And like when we first started the podcast, it was weird for me to tell people about the podcast because I'd say like we'd talk about it and people would be like, oh, like they didn't really get it, which is totally fine because that's not the people that we created the podcast and do the podcast for ourselves because we love it, but that's also grown into like creating it and doing it for you, since now we have people that listen. But originally, when we didn't know if we would have listeners or not, it was totally a passion project for the two of us to like get our Disney nerdness stuff like out of our system, so our spouses didn't have to be the ones absorbing all of it from us. So, but yeah, anyway, so it was just really interesting to hear like other people's journeys. And I think the thing that was really interesting too was we do a podcast, so like that's one channel of doing like content, right? These folks have YouTube channels, run Instagram and Facebook accounts. The one lady had a blog. She shifted away from doing the blog. TikTok. So they have all of these, they utilize different social media channels to kind of share their enthusiasm and passion. So it was really interesting kind of hearing some of the process of what the different channels kind of entail as far as like some of the back end type stuff.
Yeah, and a lot of them shared things, which we know as well, is, something that you might see for 10 seconds on social media, they might have spent sometimes days trying to get something perfect for it. So think about that as you're scrolling, how much work somebody's putting into it. In fact, I joke with Teresa about this all the time when she's taking photos and videos because she does our social media, that I'm like, Teresa, somebody's going to look at this for like 3 seconds. And she's like, but I want to make it look good because you appreciate seeing that in other people's stuff. So you're trying to emulate what you want to see, which I think is what a lot of these people are doing. Anyway, it was unexpected for me, especially. It was unexpectedly interesting and like thought-provoking.
Well, and I think it's just because we weren't really sure what to expect from this panel. Sure. And in all transparency and honesty, we're not super deep into social media ourselves. So these were a lot of people that I didn't know about, didn't know about and didn't know their stories. So it was fascinating to learn about. Of course, we knew Random Land with Justin Scard, and we follow Gothic Rosie with all of her postings and such too, and all of the wonderful information she puts out there. But the other folks I didn't know, and it was so fascinating. And now like I want to go follow all of them. And we invited like all of them to come on the podcast because we think they're just such fascinating, incredible, unique humans. So we'll see. Hopefully we'll get one or two of them at least to hop on to share more of their story and just, be nerdy with us for an hour or two.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was really cool to hear like from the people side of it. Like I was telling Teresa this recently, we were watching, I'm not going to name any names, but we were watching something on YouTube and there was a bunch of creators and creators, I'll say, not influencers, creators together. And I was trying to pay attention to what the other creators were doing in the background. Cause I was like, how much of what they do on screen is like an act, or are they different than they really are? And I would, some of them were exactly like you see them on, social media. So it's kind of interesting to see that. I also I knew Gothic Rosie from like posts and a bunch like great information, but I never knew how like she got started with it. So hearing like how she got started and stuff, I thought was fascinating, and just learning more about her struggles with like accessibility and stuff and what made her kind of light that fire for her to do that. So, but anyway, after the influencer panel, they had another artist on.
Yeah, we got to hear from James C. Mulligan, who took the stage to talk about his artwork, all the things that he's worked on. So he does like Disney fine art collectible type artworks, but he also is a Lorcana artist and has designed multiple playing cards of some of your favorite characters, and maybe they're even some of your favorite characters to play in Lorcana. But yeah, he just kind of, again, talked about how he started with Disney, his different influences. He was very kind and actually gifted everyone there at the presentation a print of one of his, I believe it was one of his newer works, and it was this great mashup of DuckTales with the Jungle Cruise. And he was very kind to stay after his presentation and meet with folks and sign the prints too. So he's got a very beautiful style, and he was talking about different things that he's done with like Roosevelt's and working with them to design different button-ups of all of your favorite IPs. The one that I laughed because I think he talked about the shirt quite a lot, and then here he is wearing the shirt. He did an Indiana Jones adventure button-up design with them. He helped design their booth at D23 and did some of the artwork in the booth for Roosevelt's at D23. So yeah, he was just talking about, kind of all of his stuff, all the different things he's worked on and has had the pleasure working on. He went to Star Wars Celebration to do some different stuff too. So really, really fascinating individual. A gorgeous, gorgeous stuff that he creates and shares with all of us in the fandom.
Yeah, his presentation was cool. And of course, anybody who likes indie, I'm a big fan as well. And he was there the next day too, I think, also signing some things and selling some prints and whatnot. He had a wonderful Peter Pan print that I wish I had enough money to afford, but it looked gorgeous.
And then one of the final presentations for our daytime stuff was we got to hear from one of the top people at Spirit Jersey, which Spirit Jersey is, of course, we all know what Spirit Jerseys are because of the parks, but Spirit Jersey is not just like, it's one of those things that I had never heard of Spirit Jerseys prior to it becoming such a thing in the Disney parks, but it of course existed before that and did all sorts of other stuff. But they talked about like the process, what it's like working for Disney and how like coming up with the designs. They were talking about all sorts of different things that they do. It's wild to me. Like Disney is obviously now probably one of their biggest accounts and one of the biggest things that they create products for. But the fact that it was some small company and then their relationship with Disney has just like completely skyrocketed their business is just really, really, really cool.
One of the things I learned about Spirit, I'm not a Spirit Jersey fan, and actually Teresa probably was mortified when I told the guy. I was like, I'm not really into Spirit Jerseys, but we talked to him for a minute. But
it's one of those, I'm like, you don't have to tell me that.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things. It's like anything. It's not, everything's not for everyone.
But I was surprised to learn that they like print all this stuff like in Southern California. Like they have it's not something that like they get shipped a bajillion over from China or whatever. Like they make it in the United States. And actually the moderator talking to him she actually made her own Spirit Jersey for her own platform or whatever. And she said that she got to tour like the facility and see how it's all made. And it was interesting talking to him a little bit afterwards about how I was like, oh, you don't just, like I was joking about like, oh, you can't, he was looking for a specific jersey they had made, but it was out of print for a while or something. I'm like, oh, you guys don't just take one off or whatever. He said, no, working with Disney, like you need to account for everything that went through. So like, even if something was misprinted, like Disney wants that accounted for. If something was damaged or something that, they want everything accounted for. There's no way for them to just get one off the line or whatever. And so I thought that was all really interesting. And especially, like I said, the made in Southern California, I was very surprised. I didn't really know anything about the company. I just knew that they sold stuff in the parks.
And that they were super popular. So it was really, I agree with Take. It was so interesting to learn more about the company's Spirit jersey and not just like the fashion statement of Spirit jerseys.
And to talk about like, he mentioned that they've made like so many designs that never came to fruition. Like there's tons of like prototype things they've done. And he's hoping that like some of those eventually might see the light of day with Disney and without Disney. They've just done all these different things. So it was just fascinating. Like you don't think about that. I mean, we've talked with Debbie from Designer Park Co. about how the process for the backpacks are. Well, this is, another creator of like the process of creating something that like you wear in the park. It's just, I don't know. It's fascinating. Something that I have no personal experience with or history with, but just learn how it's done is fascinating.
Well, and the other exciting thing that he shared with us is that they are now officially licensed with Disney. So previously they were creating things for Disney, but now they have official licensing, so they can create their own Disney merch and sell. So we may see some of the things that they kind of had in like their vaults that maybe didn't make it out, that Disney didn't pick and make it out in like the parks or on Shop Disney, but maybe some of those designs and styles will make their way out now that they're officially licensed and have a little bit more. So like when you're licensed, they've got a little bit more flexibility of what they want to do versus when you're creating something for Disney. For them to, they're ordering it. So like Disney's got final say on what they're ordering. Licensing means that they're basically trusted with the Disney IP and able to sell things that have the IP on it. So a little bit more creative flexibility, I guess, to kind of pick and choose what it is that you want to do. So maybe like, I'm going to say something really random. Maybe they have this really amazing Treasure Planet Spirit jersey that they've created that they like pitched to Disney, and Disney's like, that's awesome, but like it's not really something that we're looking for right now. And so it just kind of gets shelved. I have no idea. Like, he didn't share this with us. This is just me being very random.
You're just picking a random thing.
Just picking a random, like, because Treasure Planet's one of those like movies that like has a very strong following, but maybe not all Disney fans really know about. So anyway, so maybe now they can create something with Treasure Planet and bring it to the masses with the licensing. So if Spirit jerseys are your thing, be sure to be checking their socials, their websites, because they, like I said, they've got the licensing, so they're going to start doing some stuff on their own, in addition to still doing stuff for the parks and for Shop Disney. So very fun. That takes us to the evening segment, which the evening is all about the Disney Legend honorees. And for this specific Disneyana event, the Disneyana fan club was honoring Tim O'Day as well as Michael Vargo. And so they were both Disneyana fan club Disney legends, which is a very, very high honor. So of course we heard about like Disney legends, like official D23 Disney legends and kind of that process. But this is a fan club's version of this. This is a non-Disney fan club honoring people that are upholding like the legacy of Walt and doing really amazing things. So there's more flexibility to be able to honor very important people that may not ever get to be an official quote unquote Disney legend. So honestly, who was it? Was it Michael Vargo that said like this was like almost like the People's Choice Award version for like Disney?
Well, because I joked,
that was so cool.
I joked with him because I said, when are you going to be made a Disney, like a Disney legend, like a D23 Disney legend? Because he does so much. He oversees so many things. He's been involved with so many things. I was like, why wouldn't you? And he said, Look, we have a giant list of people at Disney.
Which I get. There's a million. There's so many cool people
to become legends, and he's like, I would be really far down on that list. So the fact that he was honored here as a Disneyana fan club Disney legend, really cool. So
Tim O'Day. So Tim, some of the amazing things that he has done with the Walt Disney Company, and then also just in general to support the communities, is he was a publicist representing specifically Walt Disney Imagineering and all sorts of different things. But we're going to kind of go through some of the highlights of some of the cool things that Tim was involved with. But he was there for the grand opening of Euro Disney during the next 4 decades. He continued on as a senior management leader and outside consultants for all sorts of different projects with Disney. Some of the crazy things that he did, which we already talked about, the happiest turkeys on earth, was that the Olympic swimming pool down Main Street, USA, that was, Tim was involved with that. He was involved with Disneyland's 50th birthday celebration, including having Julie Andrews as the honorary Disneyland 50th anniversary ambassador.
The Halloween tree in Frontierland was something that was done by Tim as well.
And so we talked about the White House pardon turkeys, but he also helps get Disneyland star on Hollywood's Walk of Fame, and also the Dumbo attraction vehicle that was at the Smithsonian's Natural Museum of American History was something that he helped make happen. So he's done all these wild and crazy and cool things that we've heard about and know about and have kind of gone down like infamous in history for like their infamy and like wild stuff, like the Olympic sized swimming pool and the happiest turkeys on earth. What were their names? Like Yam and Marshmallow or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he was talking about that. So he's done all sorts of really great things kind of behind the scenes and sort of I don't want to say that it's a thankless job, but he just like wasn't out in the spotlight.
I didn't know he did all this stuff.
Yeah, I didn't either, which is incredible. I know since then he's been really involved in a lot of different books and different projects for like bringing other people's stories kind of out and getting those stories out there for fans like us to learn more about and to hear more about and just know in general, because that's a cool thing. And like, that's kind of something with the podcast, right? Is we just love hearing all of these different stories that these folks have to share about their time with all the different various things that they have done or do, either with Disney, about Disney, for Disney, whatever. But stories are very, very important. So I think that it's so cool that he's not working directly with Disney now. He does have his own PR group that continues to produce many events that we enjoy. I think Chalk Walk, he's involved with that as well. But the fact that he's also taking the time to help share other amazing individual stories too is very, very cool.
The other Disneyana fan club Disney legend honoree was Michael Vargo. Now, you might remember him as being on our show previously, right before the D23 Ultimate Fan event this last year. He came on to talk about what that was all going to be like. And so that was amazing to have him on and learn and talk about it. He was on episode 341 way back in June of 2024. But yeah, he's done a ton of stuff. He's been with Disney since 1992. He's done tons of different events. Obviously, he's oversees the D23 fan club, which also oversees the Ultimate Fan event. He also oversees things like the Walt Disney Archives, which we swoon about all the time. He does all types of special events. And we just learned actually when we were at the Archives event that the D23 offices are in the Grand Central Terminal building, which I thought was really cool and we didn't know about. I know that has nothing to do really with anything, but it's just kind of neat to know that that's where they were at. So he's by the way, on a personal note, Michael Vargo, if you ever have the pleasure of interacting with him, is the most sweetest, most generous individual ever. Like, he's so nice. He's so welcoming. Yeah. He's got a memory like a steel trap, because like he remembers like everybody's name, it seems like, and he interacts with, I would guess, thousands of individuals and remembers all of them. So, and even though he's crazy busy, because he was at this and the very next morning he was at the Archives event, endless energy. Like, he is, if you ever get the opportunity, he's an amazing individual that we've been very lucky to have any type of interaction with. He's just he's aw- and his wife too, Kristen, who is working back at Disneyland, and we saw her on this last trip too. So just a power couple of amazing Disneyness.
The thing that's so cool about Michael, and we talked with him about this on that episode, he himself is just a very big Disney fan. So knowing that the head of D23 is also just a big passionate Disney fan as well, like you know that everything that they're doing comes from just a really genuine place, and they try really hard to put on some really incredible events. And really, it's wild when you think about it that the expo in general, like, that's massive. I can't even imagine and wrap my head around what it is like to try and put that entire thing together, because there's so many different things. And then the fact that they've now added a level that it's in 2 locations, because you've got it at the convention center, and then all of the big panels have moved down the street to the arena.
The Honda Center.
Honda Center is just...
Not to
all
mention
of the logistics, all of the planning, all of the layers and levels, and all the different schedules that they have to make sure line up for all the different stages. It's just, and that's just one of the things that he does.
Not to mention Destination D that happens in Florida. Not to mention they just had a D23 thing in Brazil for the first time, and he's always traveling around to see all the archives exhibits that are traveling around. Like, I don't know how he does it.
He's incredible. Such an asset to the Walt Disney Company, and then also to all of us as fans, because he is the head and spearheading. He, like, all of these this year, especially for D23, they have been bringing so many events, like, just monthly. There's all sorts of monthly events. There's in-person events. There's virtual events. This year, for us being in the Midwest, has been the most D23 filled year ever, because of all of these special events that they're putting on through the Gold Theater, through the Spotlight Series. We were very fortunate that the Spotlight Series just happened to fall during our most recent trip, and we were able to attend that in person. We were also very fortunate that one of the studio tours that the D23 group puts on for fans also happen to fall during this. That, like, just wild. The fact that they partner up and kind of have something happen every so often with what's going on in the Pacific Northwest during Mouse Meet weekend. They kind of team up with, it's just incredible. But he's in this again. D23 is only part of what this man oversees. Of course, he's got a fantastic team of other incredible individuals that help bring all of these events to life, but it's just amazing. So well deserved for both Michael and Tim to be given this honor of becoming Disneyana legends. And we were just so tickled and so thrilled that we were able to be there that night to celebrate them, because they both very much deserve it. But we got to go through this. So, like, in May of 2016, Michael Vargo was named the Vice President of D23, Special Events, and Disney Corporate Creative Resources, as well as overseeing the Walt Disney Archives. That is such a massive thing. He got called. He was telling this story about how he got called days before the Abu Dhabi announcement and got on a plane. He wasn't in the loop about it. He got, like, he was tapped on the shoulder a couple of days ahead of time to go help, put all that together and make sure all of that went smoothly and without a hitch as it did. I mean, just amazing. The fact that he, got on a plane, flew halfway, maybe further around the world to, like, just get plopped in an event and just, like, handled it like a champ is just incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible.
Not to mention, we've also seen him in Marceline. They just did a D23 event in Marceline just recently, a couple months ago. So he's definitely a gem of the Walt Disney Company, and for sure has earned this Disneyana Fan Club Disney Legend Award.
100%.
And Don Hahn was there to interview him, which was awesome.
That was cool. Don Hahn was the one that interviewed both of them, which he did this, like, I don't know. He was joking that he did a deep dive, like, on social media, but he pulled all of these different kind of random photos that neither Tim or Michael knew he had like prepared. So it wasn't like they knew it was coming. So he found old photos of both Tim and Michael when they were like young cast members. Both of them actually started in entertainment and talked about their time in, working the different parades and that sort of thing. And just like different kind of touch points throughout their careers, and like for them to kind of pull out some of these really awesome stories to share with the group, to just kind of give everyone a better, like, well-rounded vision of like, yes, we know what they are doing now, but do you also know all these like awesome, really cool, incredible things that they did before and how they kind of got to where they are now?
One of the other things that is a reason that we go, partially a reason that we go to the Disneyana events, is because part of the money that they raise gets given out. They support foundations. And one of the foundations they support is the Garner Holt Foundation, which is for those of you who don't know, Garner Holt has created a bunch of animatronics for Disney and other companies. His company really geared up and created all of the animatronics for the Chuck E. Cheese. If you ever remember the bands and stuff playing at Chuck E. Cheese, that was Garner Holt Productions that made those animatronics. Also responsible for Murphy. May or may not have heard of the dragon at Disneyland for Fantasmic. But he has a Garner Holt Foundation that's a nonprofit that, quote from his website, dedicated to increasing hope, igniting imagination, and inspiring creativity in the lives of young people through hands-on, career-focused learning experiences in the areas of science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, also known as STEAM. Well, one of the things that they do at the Disneyana events is they hold an auction, and they auction off some different things. And a couple of the big items that were auctioned off this time that was, I thought, pretty dang amazing was Garner Holt did auction off a tour of the Garner Holt location where they build all of this stuff, like a private tour. Earned a lot of money for that evening because of one of the items that were up for auction was this tour of the Garner Holt facilities. Also, Michael Vargo and Becky Klein had an item there to do Becky Klein, if you don't know, from the Walt Disney Archives, head of the Walt Disney Archives, had a tour of the archives that they don't usually give the tour, but she was going to be there for it.
It was a studio tour, so the Walt Disney Studio lot tour, plus some extra time in the archives, and your tour guides were going to be Becky and Michael, which... Wow. Incredible.
And there was a bidding war. So they doubled it. So they're going to have two of them, which great cause to raise money for things. Yeah. So just a wonderful night of just Disney people and celebrating these people who've worked so hard for the Disney company and raising money for, good charities and whatnot. So
not only does Disneyana support the Garner Holt Foundation, but they also support the Ryman Arts Foundation, which is also steeped in Disney history and is just a really wonderful cause to help keep the arts alive and kind of be able to introduce more children specifically to the different arts. So Ryman Arts is more about like drawing and like that sort of facet of the arts, whereas Garner Holt is more kind of like the robotics and the more technical side that can also be the arts. Every time that I hear about these things, Ryman Arts has been going for years. Garner Holt Foundation is more recent comparatively. And I just think how cool, like if I was a kid and could go to one of these workshops and learn about how to build animatronics. Like that was not even something my small child from the Midwest brain, like even like fathomed could be a career path. And it's so interesting to think about how doing these things is so important because it really impacts children to maybe help them decide what they're passionate in, what are things that they're interested in, again, that they didn't even know were possible to be things to be interested in. So it's just really, really incredible. It's very special. And we really love that this event helps support both of those really important foundations.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, you have heard us talk about all of our great experiences staying at the Howard Johnson in Anaheim. In fact, that's where we just stayed for our most recent trip. Well, we, of course, have partnered with them because we would like to offer our listeners some really cool discounts. Weekly tiers can get 15% off their stay. To take advantage of this discount, please head over to dlweekly.net and click on the Howard Johnson logo. Be sure to use the promo code on the site to get your discount.
Welcome back to Trivia Land, Shell. My name Raymond, and I hope them answers are bigger and better than this here back porch I got attached to me. Don't you know Evangeline and I wish y'all the best of luck.
Hello, welcome back to Trivia Land. That was fun, and I'm glad you're back.
Thank you.
Excited to be back?
I'm so curious about the answers.
Me too.
Yeah. What a good resource for me. That D23 A to Z gave us some good stuff. So, attractions related to the letter J. My first question for you was, when was the two-story queue added to the Jungle Cruise? You both correctly answered 1994.
Woo!
And tag not intentional, but your insights were right. It was June 1994.
Oh.
And you, I thought for sure you both would go in that it was when Indy happened in 1995. But nope, you were right. The channel was moved to slightly allow more space for the queue area with Indy opening the following year. Well done.
Thank you. Good job, us.
Let's see where we go from here.
Yes. My next question, what was added to the Junior Autopia cars to enable the juniors to drive? Tag said booster seat. Teresa went with an extended gas pedal. We're going to give it to Teresa. There was a block of wood added to the gas pedal. So they could reach it.
I love that it was like a temporary, like an afterthought.
Right?
Back in the day, they were like, you know what, let's just throw a block of wood in there. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
You get a nice block of wood. It can really just make it easy and doable for them to push that gas pedal down. Why not?
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Question number 3. What did the Imagineers do when designing the Jolly Trolley so it did not just glide down the tracks of Toontown, but it jiggles, lurches, and weaves?
I'm really excited to find out the answer to this one.
I'm telling you, it's magic.
To get that wobbling, cartoony look, the Imagineers just had a really unique plan when it came to arranging the wheels in their different sizes. It's as simple as you think it is.
Like, they just had different size wheels?
Basically.
That seems weird.
I could see it like appearing that they're...
But wouldn't it stay the same? Wouldn't it stay the same, though, and not be moving around because the wheel is staying the same?
I don't ask questions. D23 gives me answers.
I told you. Magic, Tag. Magic.
I don't know. I don't know.
Curious.
I thought I was going to get an answer, and now I just have more questions.
My plan has come true. And my final question for you this week, how many vessels are there on the Jumping Jellyfish attraction, specifically between the two towers? There are 6 jellyfish on each tower, giving you a total of 12. Right answer for Tay.
The random stuff that I remember.
Good job.
I'm just saying.
I like how the one time I talk myself out of changing my not going with my gut and talk myself back into the gut is when I should have gone with talking myself out of the gut. It
finally worked against you. It's true.
Too funny.
I still don't get this. I'm watching a clip from 2001 of the Jolly Trolley.
This is making me sad that the Jolly Trolley is not still there.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense with how busy Toontown is now, especially.
I know,
that you
but
just
it was
can't
so
have that.
fun.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's that the wheels were not round, like it was like an oblong shape, because that would make more sense.
It could be.
Anyway, I'm sorry, James. I just get hung up on these things.
Oh, I know you do. You get into it, and it makes a lot of sense.
But yay us for getting the... Oh, I guess yay me. You didn't jump on my jellyfish.
You and I both got 2 right.
You both got 2 right,
yeah.
And together you got 3 right. And the odd one you got wrong was just overthought. I mean, Teresa was half right on that one if we're being sincere, but not in Trivia Land points. So can't give you that one. But yeah, we got listener questions now. We'd love to get more so that way we can keep on asking those as we go forward.
You can also give us easy ones. It doesn't always have to be hard.
Mm-hmm. And now we know we're going to get them. So just head over to the website, dlweekly.net/trivia, and send them on in.
Well, we will be back next week with more Disneyland news and information.
Until then, go out and enjoy the parks.
A special thank you to Sidel for editing the podcast.
Please remain seated until the podcast comes to a complete stop and the doors have opened. Then collect your belongings, watch your head, and step carefully from the episode. On behalf of all of our crew, thanks for traveling with us, and we hope you have a happy and memorable visit here at DL Weekly.
If you're a lineman in charge of keeping the lights on, Grainger understands that you go to great lengths, and sometimes heights, to ensure the power is always flowing. Which is why you can count on Grainger for professional-grade products and next-day delivery, so you have everything you need to get the job done. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.